Welcome back to TaraChessAcademy. Today we're going to learn how to combine forced moves and quiet moves.
Hi everyone, for today we prepared really interesting and excited position for you. So let's start. In the positions that you see, black has an extra pawn, but position of the king is not so safe, and it looks like white pieces are working together pretty good, and that's why white has all chances to start a combination. So let's think what we can do. As we say usually in Tara's videos, your first candidate moves should start with check or with capture. So Tara, what ideas do you have? What could we start with?
The checks that we have are the bishop to c1 or the queen to
C4.
the bishop to
Yeah.
f1 or the queen to c4.
Yeah, we can think about bishop f1 first, but to be honest, after king a7, I don't think that we can do anything in this position. So let's take this move back. And of course, we can discuss this queen sacrifice if it works. Yeah, so I don't think that black gonna skip the chance to capture the queen. Yeah, so what do you think? Can we do something in this position?
There's no ideas, but it is important to consider sacrifices because sometimes if you consider them, they can make a great combination and it can help you to have a winning position. So
Yeah,
it might look silly, but sometimes it can work. But
of
here it
course.
doesn't work. You sacrifice the queen and you can't get anything out of it.
Yeah, so white doesn't have any compensation. Okay, so we have tried two checks. Yeah, both of them don't work. So maybe we can think about captures. To be honest, I'm not sure that queen takes h7 would be so good. Yeah, so maybe right now we shouldn't discuss this. So let's think what else white can do.
There's another capture with the rook, and that is rook takes c6.
Yeah, so we can sacrifice exchange. Yeah, and just capture the knight. Okay, probably bishop takes.
We sacrifice the rook, but now the queen can come to c4 and attack the king and the bishop.
Yeah, so when the bishop is not here on d5, yeah, really queen comes to c4. Okay, to be honest, I don't think that we should discuss a lot king a7 because after queen takes c6, this endgame is an example when a knight and the bishop would be much stronger than the rook and the pawn. Yeah, so like if you compare these pieces, they look equal: 6 points for a rook and for a pawn, and 6 points for a knight and for a bishop. But most of the time, two pieces would be much stronger. And especially this diagonal is pretty weak and white has a light square bishop. So right now we will not concentrate on this variation. Yeah, it's more natural probably for black just to play king b7 and defend the bishop. Yeah, so let's think if we can do something after this.
Here you might think there might be ideas of a pin because the bishop and king are on the same diagonal. But if you move the knight, I'm not sure that it's a great idea because if you do the knight, they'll capture the bishop.
Yeah,
And
so yeah, it's just an exchange and black has a rook for the knight, so it's not so good for us. Okay, maybe again we should follow the rule of checks and captures first. What do you think?
You might think that knight h4 is a bad idea, but you might think knight d4 is better because you're attacking the bishop 3 times, but the bishop will still capture.
Yeah, so it looks like now black just has an extra rook on the chessboard. So moving the knight is not the best plan.
Let's look at queen takes c6.
Wow, queen sacrifice. Okay. Again, I don't think that we should discuss a lot king a7. Yeah, we have discussed this possible position before. So of course, we should concentrate on what happens after king takes c6.
Here we did sacrifice the queen, but I said before, it's important to think about sacrifices because if you don't do this sacrifice, you might have better chances, but black has more material. So black might have chances of fighting back. But if you do calculate and find the sacrifice, white can make a checkmate in a few moves.
Yeah, but of course, just like sacrifice, because usually it works, it's a bad plan. So if you sacrifice something, you should be sure that your calculations work. So without calculations, your sacrifice is not a good idea. So let's think what we can do. Yeah, we can see that the bishop is on the same diagonal with a king. So of course we can try just a discovered check, for instance. Yeah, but I think after king d7, black doesn't have any problems at all. So in my opinion, it's more interesting to find a good double check in this position. So let's think what we can do.
So we want to make a double check, but we don't want the king to escape and we don't want them to go to d7.
Of course.
So that's why we should do the knight to e5 because then the knight would control d7.
So the king can't move to any of the squares, yeah, because white pieces control them. So the only move that the king has, because it's a double check, yeah, so of course black can't capture the knight, for instance. And the only move is king c5. Okay, let's think what happens then.
So here there's two checks, moving the pawn to b4 or the knight to d3. But the knight is better because if you do the pawn, the king would capture.
Yeah, so that's why not the best plan. We have sacrificed a lot, so it's better not to lose your pieces anymore. So yeah, let's discuss knight d3. Still very good for us that we control most of the squares, yeah, except d4. And it looks like the only one square where the king can move. So king goes to d4. Let's think what happens then.
It's very important in chess when you have an attacking plan, you're looking at the black king and noticing where the king can move. So here the king can go to c3 and e3. So we want to control both of these squares or it won't help us to give checkmate.
Of course.
So this move is not a check, but it will control c3 and e3. And that move is moving the king to d2.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So if we move the king to d2, yeah, what happens? The black king can't move anywhere because we control all the squares. And also it's very important that black doesn't have any checks for the white king. So I don't know what black can do, yeah? So this position is an example when a knight and the bishop could be much, much stronger than a rook and the queen. So, okay, let me try to lose my queen. Take it, please. So
we shouldn't capture even though it looks tempting. You might think I'll capture the queen and later I'll give checkmate. But if you capture the queen, then the checkmate won't work because the king has an escape square. They could go to d5 or e4.
yeah, of course.
Black will find a way to escape.
Yeah, we don't need this.
Yeah.
So what should we do instead?
So we can move our pawn to c3. And then it's checkmate.
Yeah. So we move the pawn to c3 and that's all. So the king can't move anywhere. Yeah, so very nice. The king is in the center of the chessboard and it's just mate.
What do you think the puzzle teaches us?
We shouldn't forget about quiet moves, even if it's a forced combination. Yeah, so sometimes not all winning moves should be with check. And of course, this puzzle teaching that if you sacrifice the queen, you should be sure, yes, and you should be like confident in your calculations, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but
And
final position is really nice.
some people, they like to play very safe, but sometimes if you can make a sacrifice, it helped white to win. And the sacrifice, it worked, but they just had to calculate. So sometimes you might be afraid to lose a piece, but you have to take some risk, because if you just play the game safe, then your opponent would have better chances to attack
Of course.
because you're not making any big bets. So sometimes it is important to take some risks, but these are all calculated risks.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you on my next video. Bye!
Bye.